Gina, thank you for making sure that representation is core to your work through the creation of strong female characters, especially women of color.
I agree. Girls Inc. mostly serves brown and black girls, and representation is important to all of us. Growing up, I rarely saw Filipina characters on television shows and often wondered why this was the case. So, I'll kick us off with the first question. How do you view the current state of representation in the industry?
I should have known that this was coming. I can sum it up with a number. The Annenberg just put out a study about a month ago about the number of female directors of color over the last 7 years of the top 100 films per year, and the number is 1.3%. That means that of the films coming out, from our perspective, our lens, our authenticity, 1.3%. It's a staggering, staggering number. Every time we feel like we're making progress, then you see a number like that. But what is encouraging to me is certainly the people in my orbit who are fighting to have that opportunity to direct, to write, fighting to put their stories into the world. Those in power who are seeing the value in our stories and taking a chance. I mean, certainly, you know, The Woman King to me is still a miracle that got made, and it took Nicole Brown to see the value after 7 years of trying to get that made, and Sony. So it's tough out there, absolutely, but just being tough doesn't mean that we shrink. It just means that we have to fight harder.
Thank you for sharing. In our recent conversation, you talked how growing up, you were a big fan of television. So when you entered into film, you wanted to create characters who represented you. How have you seen the industry change over the years?
Well, I do want to answer that in, I get to shout out somebody that was incredibly important to me in my career. So growing up, as I spoke in my speech, books were very important. Part of that was because when I was 9, our television broke, and to our horror, my parents decided not to fix it. And so we had no TV for a while, and so it was just books. But when we finally got the TV back a couple years later, it was TV and film. It's such an amazing thing to me to be able to see yourself in characters that are larger than life. And so that's really what got me inspired about changing from books to TV and film. My favorite show in college was a show called A Different World. And when I was still in college, I had the opportunity to meet Yvette Lee Bowser, who is here. And I got an opportunity to apply for an apprenticeship, Writers Guild apprenticeship, and write on the show. So it was this opportunity to write for my favorite show. And I didn't have Girls Inc. And so I walked into there completely unprepared, and I was awful. And it was like all the writers, all these people that were heroes of mine are in there. And I look at Yvette to think, is this really going as bad as I think it is? And based on her face, it was. And by the end of it, I didn't get the job, but Yvette and I stayed in touch. And when I got the opportunity to try again, I did get the job. And Yvette took me absolutely under her wing. And to be on a show like that and have this black woman, the producer, along with Susan Fales Hill, also black woman, like that became a normal to me to see black women in charge. And Yvette taught me work ethic. There was all-nighters that she taught, and be the first one in and the last. Like that work ethic she taught me the importance of our narratives and telling our stories and being truthful and pulling from your life to put that up on screen. And she also was the first one who got me a pedicure, and that was very big as well, given I never did that before.
Well, thank you for that, Gina. I think we have room for one more question. As someone who has been a mentor for emerging talent, in your opinion, what can the industry of professionals and organizations do to create a more inclusive and diverse environment for aspiring talent?
Yeah, it's hiring. It's as simple as that. There is a bias in our industry where there's many of us who don't have that assumption of excellence that others get in this industry. You have to push past that and know that you can aspire to excellence and you have that within you. You have to self-talk yourself constantly because this industry is telling you differently. But we just need, and I don't know how yet, but we are working on it, but how do we push past that bias? How can people in our industry push past this bias and give women and people of color, directors, writers, that assumption of excellence?
Thank you for sharing your insights and for being a champion for all girls.
Thank you, guys.
And to everyone here today, thank you for believing in the power of girls and giving us a safe place to develop our voices. Your gift will be helping ensure the strength of the entire network so that more girls have a chance to be a part of this experience. If you want to learn more ways you can help support girls like us, please visit girlsinc.org.